Reshika Udugampola. Welcome to the Jayawaves podcast. You haven't done podcast before, right?
No.
It's your first time.
First, yeah.
I've been thinking about who I can interview, right? I think I had this conversation with you 5 minutes ago, but obviously since you're going on podcast, who should I have? And then I start thinking about myself, and you would never expect somebody to know another Olympian, right? This is a pretty freaking awesome thing. And then I'm thinking to myself, hey, one of my friends is an Olympian.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to get into that, okay? Because that is a freaking amazing achievement. But before we get into all of that, let's start at the beginning. In the sense that's what I've always been doing with everybody who had come onto this. Asking where they started and how they found it. So let's go back to school. A levels, O levels.
O levels.
What was the doctor, lawyer, engineer plan, or did you have one by your parents? What was the goal that was set out for you?
Okay. So I started swimming when I was somewhere around 8.
Oh wow!
Very young.
So did you know at that point that?
No, but I always liked it, and my parents thought I was so good at it.
Okay.
So they always thought, okay, I might go somewhere with it,
right.
But they didn't know I will go to this point, right? And I hated studying in the first place. I was never the child who's so smart, like everybody else, like my sister.
Okay.
But I always liked doing extracurricular activities. So I used to do dancing and swimming both together when I was really young.
Okay.
And then it came to a point somewhere when I was 11, 12, I was supposed to give up on one thing to pursue just something what I'm really good at, right?
Okay.
So dancing and swimming couldn't go together at all. Because swimming.
So you were your parents were pushing you to swimming and dancing at the same time, or you selected dancing?
No, I like both.
Okay.
Right? But swimming is something which takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment.
Okay.
Dancing is fun, yes. But swimming was a different ball game.
Did you know at that point, for you to be, because I'm not sure if you remember back then when you were 13, 14, were you telling yourself, if I want to be good at something, I need to commit a bit more?
No.
But you just want
I just want to do what I like.
Right. So you like swimming more.
Yeah.
What about dancing? Why
I like dancing. But
it was just fun for you.
It was, swimming was fun. It was water. So I always liked doing swimming.
Okay.
And it was fun.
Where were you schooling at this point?
So I moved to Colombo. So I was in Gaul when I was pretty young.
Right.
And then I moved to Colombo in 2003 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I started studying in Gateway College.
Okay.
And then I was also swimming with Julian back then. Julian was my coach.
Okay. This when you were 15, 16?
Yeah, a little younger maybe.
Okay.
13, 14?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
At that point, were you still being like, okay, you know what, I want to compete because I'm good at it? Or when did you have your eyes set on, the ultimate stage, which is the Olympics?
Okay.
How old were you when that clicked?
Yeah, I don't remember that part, but
okay, so it was so long ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's just Olympics was never a thing back then for me, at least. For me, the biggest thing when I was 14 was to finish junior nationals and go to nationals and win a medal.
Right.
That was like that at that point. So 14 is somewhere you finish junior nationals, and my last year of junior nationals I really did perform well, and that was a turning point for me, and I knew once I go to national level I can do something better than this. Okay. So I wanted to practice a little harder and I committed a lot, and for me swimming was everything. So waking up.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting here because I want to get as much as I can out of this because I've heard these I've heard these stories bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Or when I spoke to you, when I met you back at ANC, I didn't know that you were an Olympian and you because I was in my own bubble. I was trying to be a musician and all of that. You didn't speak about it that much as well. If I went to the Olympics, guys, I'd be like, hey, hi, my name's Lahir, I went to the Olympics. I'll be walking around saying that to everybody. But you didn't even mention it, you didn't talk about it, so I was not in that bubble. But later on, as we started, hanging out more, I started hearing all these stories, and I was amazed at the amount of work that goes into just training. So like, talk to me about, okay, when you're training for nationals, like how intense was like the training? Like how many times a week were you swimming, or like what was it like?
Okay. So for a swimmer, this is sort of normal, this routine. You get up at 3:34. You have to be at the pool by 4:30, 4:45.
This is AM in the morning.
AM,
okay.
Yes. And you do your warm-ups, and then you get in the pool by 5 o'clock. 5 is the time.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, you go to like 8.
Mm-hmm.
That is, if you're lucky, you have classes. That's the excuse to get out of the pool at 8 o'clock.
Right. Okay.
If you have school or classes, you get out at 8 o'clock.
Right.
If you don't have anything, you can keep going, right? You can keep going until late. And obviously, at that point, this is before Olympics. I was training for nationals and try to go on tours, like championships and stuff. I was still at ANC. Right.
Okay.
But it came to a point I just couldn't handle everything together.
Okay.
Because going into international level or get into that level of sporting career, I had to take a break from studies. I couldn't do assignments till late night and go back to swimming at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There are people who do this.
This was on a daily basis?
Yes.
Okay, wow. So every day in the morning, 5 o'clock, go?
Yes.
Sorry, you said 4, right? 4, you get up, get ready to 4.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then evening, again, you're back to pool by 4:30.
Right.
And then you start by 5 and then you go till late, like probably 8:30. And if you're lucky, you'll get up at 8. But if you have a longer warm downs, then you'll go to a little late.
So when you were saying, okay, you needed a break, like what was the conversation like, and who was involved in this conversation? Whether it was your parents, was the coach involved, or how did you navigate? Okay, you know what? Because you're planning to take a break for maybe a year or two, because that's a lot of time.
Yep. So I'm trying to go back to what happened, right? I'm not trying to remember everything because it's some time ago. So it was my parents. Okay. To be honest, I wouldn't be here without my parents. Okay. They made most of the decisions because I wouldn't say I was in no place to make decisions, but
you're still young.
I was young. I was just really small. I wouldn't understand all of this, right?
Yeah.
It was just too simple for me. I just tried to rely on my parents, and I always trusted them to make the right decision for me, and it turned out to be right.
Right. Okay.
So they made the certain decisions. Okay, Reshika, this is the point you're gonna take a break from your studies because we see that.
When you wanted, when you were like,
yes,
I didn't have to study anymore. No more assignments.
I was happy because I liked spending time in water more than sitting in a classroom and studying.
Yeah, so I can imagine, like, if somebody, my parents came and told me, you can take a break from studies, but then wait, you need to hear what happened, like, with the training and stuff. Yeah. So, okay, so
but training was intense.
Where do you think your parents got that insight? Okay, you know what, this is something that you're really good at, like, were they talking to the coaches and,
I don't think they necessarily was talking to the coach, but they did talk to the coach about my performance. Okay. And how well I can do and where I can go, right? Sort of plan it out for the year or the first quarter or first half of the year, right? But taking a break from studies was what my parents, they were the ones who took that decision.
Wow, that's pretty amazing because we are in Sri Lanka.
I was confused. I didn't know what was going on because in my head, I knew I wanted to get into something in my swimming career, but I didn't know where I was going. So I got that help from my parents, and then I really liked taking a break. Honestly, I loved it.
What were you studying back then?
So I joined ANC, and then I wanted to do business management first. Okay. And then later I figured, I want to do marketing. Okay. Then I ended up doing both.
So wait a minute, so when you joined. Okay, so this is before you. So you came back again to ANC to complete.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So, okay, I had no idea about this. I thought this.
So right after I finished my O levels in 2010.
Okay.
So I think somewhere in July we finished our exams,
Right.
and then in August intake,
Yeah.
my parents went and enrolled me.
Right.
Like when it started. At that point, I was not really swimming at hardcore. I was just getting into shape because I took a small break before the exams.
Right. Okay.
And that was the year we finished South Asian Games in 2010.
Right.
So I needed a break. I did my exams, got myself enrolled in ANC.
Yeah.
And I went back to practice in a
Right.
hardcore way, like I had to. And that was the year I was aiming to go for World Championships.
Right.
That was my first World Championships.
Where
by
is this
the way.
at?
It was in Dubai.
Okay.
So that was like the first proper international arena, like the biggest competition for me.
Okay.
And that sort of decided the fate
Was the
fate of your swimming career,
Right, okay.
right? FINA World Championship is a big deal
Right.
for all the swimmers.
Yeah.
So I went back into hardcore swimming, and then my parents sort of figured, okay, she has to go and get selected for FINA World Championships, but I don't think she can do while she's at ANC.
Right. Wow. That's
Right?
Pretty tough
Number one,
decision.
I was getting distracted a lot
Right.
because, wow, you're in uni now, you're finding a lot of friends, you get that, after 8 until 5 o'clock, you're in college, you're
Right.
spending a lot of time with your friends. You don't know what you're really doing other than going for classes and stuff. So I think I had to recover as well before the evening practice. So I had to I think my parents took that decision because of that. So I went for FINA World Championships. Then after I came back into
What happened there, like at the championships?
So obviously I was in a level to win a medal.
Okay.
But I was able to go for a national record at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I did well, but not well enough to obviously win a medal because I wasn't up that level.
Right.
So that was in December, and I came back. Then I quickly went for a semester break. Semester break. It was supposed to be a semester break.
Right.
But then it continued for about 2 years.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I did.
when you compete at that high of a level, and then you come back to saying, okay, you know what, you had a national record. Like, did it ever demotivate you that you couldn't hit like a medal or whatever?
No.
You still had your eyes set on the end goal.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about like your the people around, your parents and all that? They were obviously encouraging and
Yeah,
stuff.
they were very supportive.
Did it drive you to even work harder when you came back?
Yeah, because getting into FINA World Championships was
Itself is a big deal. Okay.
deal. So in our region, so that sort of gave me more support, gave me that push
That this is
to
your
do
path.
a little better.
Right.
So once I came back, the reason I went on a semester break was 2011 in somewhere in June or July, we have the World Championships again, right? That is the how do I say, the main criteria. You have to get selected to go for Olympics next year.
Okay.
So 2011 we have FINA Championships, and 2012 we have Olympic Games.
Okay.
So for a swimmer, having able to get selected for FINA World Championships is a big advantage if you're aiming to go for Olympics in 2012.
Okay.
I think probably in December, once I came back from FINA World Championships, that gave me a little bit of a push, sort of figure out the path to Olympic Games.
Okay.
But never have I ever thought about going for Olympics until then.
Okay. So you take a semester break and you come and like explain. Okay, now a lot of people who are thinking, like when I was listening to you, I think this was in one of our conversations. Like very clearly remember this Olympic conversation happening in ANC when I started speaking to you, and like you telling me exactly how much time you were spending. Like you get up in the morning, you go, because you also went abroad and trained for a while, right?
Yeah.
And then what was the decision for you to move to Australia? For how many years did you move?
I was there for about, when did I leave? In 2011.
Okay.
And then until 2012 Olympic Games,
Right.
I was training there.
What was the selection process like for
Olympics?
the Olympics? Like,
Okay. So number one was getting selected for FINA World Championships in
Right,
2011.
yeah.
That's a long course.
yeah.
And in between, you also have meets to get yourself selected.
Right.
FINA qualified
Okay.
meets, right?
Yeah.
But I think the fact that I got selected for FINA World Championships
Yeah.
was a huge advantage.
Okay.
And then
But then
obviously,
there was more steps involved to it, or was that?
no, that was actually enough for me to
Okay.
get in because
Right.
I did a quite a good job
Okay.
there as well. But
I mean, you had a national record there.
yeah, and then but I had a bit of challenges because
Mhm.
there were other people who was challenging
Right. Okay.
during that process. You know, oh, she's not good enough.
Right.
Like there's always people to pull you out, right?
Because you're competing to be in the best, like the highest level in
Yeah.
the world, right?
Yeah, and then
Um,
I am not the only best in the country. Right?
Right.
There's others
Right.
as well.
So how many people were in the entire squad that was aiming for this? An estimated number of people.
Pretty much, I think back then, about 3 to 4 girls
Right.
alone.
Okay. And then how many
Was
spots were
competing.
available? Like,
Just one.
oh wow.
One girl and one
Right.
male.
Right.
And if you get that Olympic cut or the A standard or B standard, you're lucky. Obviously, I wasn't good enough to go to those standards. So we get the wild card. So
Oh,
countries like us, we get the wild card where we get free 2 slots.
Oh, okay.
And you can go through that selection process and get qualified.
Right.
Right? So to get to that is not easy.
Yeah.
You're also you know you're good, but there's also people like you
We're trying to
lining
bring
up,
you down, yeah.
right? Lining up for the same spot.
Right.
So it wasn't really easy. That I think that was one of the reasons why my parents wanted me to go out of the country and train somewhere else to
Okay.
get out of that pressure.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Because the same place I was training, there are other swimmers also trying to get that spot, right?
Right.
And that pressure wasn't that healthy.
Right. Okay.
Because you're also competing with your friend, right? And
So it's like a psychological warfare as much as it was a
Yeah.
physical warfare. Like you
yes,
competing for the whole.
because you are friends when you're training, but in the pool when you're competing,
Right.
you're not really friends, right?
Right.
We're also
Wow.
fighting for the same spot.
That's interesting. So when I was having that conversation with you back in college, your mom was playing a pretty active role in the whole. Because again, how you were like what, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Back then. So, like, tell me the role that she played. Like, what exactly she did with you actively on a daily basis.
Apart from swimming,
Yeah.
she literally did everything
Right.
with me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And she's the one to get up first, right? She wakes up before me.
Right.
She prepares my meal for the whole day,
Right.
right? Because there are separate kind of meals that you're supposed to take.
Right.
You're supposed to take a meal right after 20 minutes after your training, and then
Oh,
you're
wow.
supposed to have a breakfast again, and then you're supposed to have snacks and lunch and all that jazz, right?
So mom had to be your dietitian.
Yeah.
So where do you get that prep from? Does Sri Lanka have like resources for you to know that? Who preps you apart from your coaches? What kind of facilities do we have for you to know that what you should eat? And
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't go to a dietitian
okay,
to get that
Right.
advice, right?
right,
My mom always did the research,
Oh,
and
okay.
obviously my coach was being supportive a
Right.
lot. I mean, he always share insights and he always tell us what to do,
right,
which is a good thing. I mean, my coach at that point was like my second father,
Right.
I would say, because whatever said and done, he's your coach and he's the one who's gonna guide you,
yeah.
right? A coach can either make you or break you.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So now there's so much mental pressure,
Yeah.
and at some point, like your mom decides to say, let's go to Australia. Do you remember that conversation they had with you, or how did that come up, or do you all just pack up and just?
No, we had a discussion for about over 2 months.
Okay.
She said, having you here any longer is not going to help you.
Right.
You're going to go through a lot, and
Right.
it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And I think right now the best I could do is getting you out of this place.
Right.
it's a big sacrifice my family made at that point, because I also have a younger sister, right? And she was doing her O-levels at that point. And my dad also workout station most of the time, so he's not spending a lot of time with us as well, and he doesn't have a lot of time to come and spend with us because of his work. So it's a lot of sacrifice from my parents as well, because she had to leave her younger daughter here, and obviously because of work dad couldn't be around a lot, so she was kept with the caretaker, and my mom had to go with me. And my sister was, I think she was impacted a lot during that time, because we were not there for her, right?
No, of course,
yeah, and she was young too. She's a child. So.
And she's how many years younger than you? 3?
2.
Okay.
2 years,
Okay, so she's doing all that. Okay. Wow, I mean, it would have been like chaotic back then.
It was, because it's a lot of pressure. Because I mean, it's not even just the pressure you're getting because you're trying to get qualified for Olympics, but also the pressure that people around create, right? Like they're trying to pull you back. Because in Sri Lanka, I think we have this mentality: you don't want anyone to do good, do better than you, right? And if you are, they're just looking for a way to pull you back. There's a kind of set of people here, right? It's not easy, especially at that age. It's not easy. If I'm going to details, there's worst I could explain.
Because it makes kind of sense for me at the same time, because at the end, like when you keep when you was talking to me about these things, I have to keep reminding myself that this is the Olympics, right? Everybody wants a piece of that, and they're going to do whatever they can to get it. So I have to keep reminding myself. Well, the fact that you guys had to, leave.
And the fact that I had my parents' support is why I was able to get to this point. Because there are some athletes, they don't even get that support. I mean, and that would have been one of the reasons why they can't get to that point, right?
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting point. Because, like all up, like even my parents and majority of parents want people to do sports, but it's just like a hobby, right? Like they don't look into, is this going to end up in the Olympics and all that. They're like, okay, extracurricular activity, but make sure you have your studies. But your parents like completely flipped that script around, right? And it was like, you know what, focus on this. You can always.
And this is just only my story, right? There are a lot of other Olympians in the world. And I'm pretty sure their story is much worse. So they can be much worse than what I went through. So for an athlete, it's never easy. In general. So what was life in Australia like? Like when you flew there, like was that the first time you flew to Australia? Yep. So it wasn't easy at first. One thing, you're adjusting to a place you're not used to. And I went there with a purpose. Nothing else.
How long were you there? What was
about 1 year almost. And I went there with a purpose. And I went to get something done, and I went solely only for that. So I wasn't focusing on anything else. I didn't go there to have fun.
That was my next question. Like, what was like?
I didn't
was
have
there
fun.
a social life at all? It was just a regimented, like military school.
Yeah, it's like training camp.
Oh wow! So what was like? Did you take any breaks, or what was a break there? Like in your mind while you were training for the Olympics, how would you like relax? Or was there any relaxing at all? It was just training.
And in April, I remember in Australia they go on a break for a couple of weeks. But during that period, I was still training. My squad the squad I was training with, they were on holiday. But I was training on my own.
How do you find the squad? Like, how do you find the...
So one of my other friends, Heishan, he went to Olympics with me the same year. He was training there. Right? And I asked him, I think he was the one who recommended me there, and he helped me to sort of get more information and apply there, and he sort of hooked me with the people there, and then I got in. When
you went to Australia, right? Like you said, when you FINA is when you got into FINA and you came back. Was it a sure shot? It wasn't a sure shot slot for you to go there. You said there were other people as well, right?
Yeah, it was a sure shot
Okay.
when I went to FINA World Championship.
Right. So when you went to Australia, you still knew that okay, you know what, you're going to represent the country.
No, when I was in Australia, it was very doubtful
Right.
because there were a lot of disputes happening in Sri Lanka.
Because Australia happened after FINA, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2011 mid
Right.
was FINA,
Right.
and Australia was December.
Right. Okay.
Right. So while I was in Australia, there were a lot of things happening here.
Right.
Even for selections, there were a lot of issues.
Right.
A lot of people were my very own friends. I mean, obviously I get it because they also want to get that spot, and I kind of get it. But they were also fighting for that spot.
Right. Yeah.
They were questioning why is she, right? Why is she the one going? And then later there were a lot of issues to select the coach, and there were a lot of things happening.
Right.
I was pretty angry when I got to know, because I get to know things a little late because my parents don't really tell me.
Right.
But
Okay.
obviously I get to know this, right?
Yeah.
There's social media.
It comes around.
Yeah. I was pretty angry at people by then because why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Right? I was like that, why are you doing this?
Right.
Like, can't you let me go? Like, I've already been through this selection process. Why are you trying to disturb my mental health?
At what point in this whole saga did you know, okay, you know what, for sure, everything's settled, all the drama is gone over, you are going to the Olympics?
I think I was the last person to be announced as the person who is selected to the Olympic pool.
Right.
I was the last person.
Okay. I mean, for the benefit of people like me who are completely ignorant to this Olympics situation, how, like, when you said announced, is there like a event where people get announced, or is it like a good, does it go on the newspaper? How does it?
So, the National Olympic Committee and the federation are the ones who will be announcing this to the public. Right.
Is it on TV? Is it like a event?
It goes in the news.
Okay.
You know how you get text messages from these news media, right? So you get the text also.
Oh, that's how you get to know?
No, but obviously my father got to know from NOC, National Olympic Committee, and the federation. I think they either sent an email or they called and said, okay, Reshika is selected now. It's final.
How many months before the Olympics was this?
This was in April. So, about 3 months.
So, you were training for just before 3 months without knowing whether you're going to be selected or not.
But I anyway set my mind to it. I was like, whether I get selected or not, I'm going to get trained. Either way. Right? If it happens, good. If it doesn't happen, that's fine too. I'll still train. Right? There's like 4 more years.
Interesting, right?
Yeah. I was the happiest. I was like,
did your dad tell you the information?
Yes, I was in Australia, so he called my mom and said, oh, there's good news. She got selected. And it was on media. And so people started, I think Sirasa and all these guys started calling me saying, okay, can we have like an interview with you?
Yeah, because I remember you getting, because before obviously, I think last week I was going online and looking for like interviews with Reshika Udugampola, because I see you getting on like video calls. And and then there were
because I was the last person to get selected, right? And then it was such a big news because back then the hype was already created. There are people getting selected almost every day, and I was in the last slot, and that took a little time to announce. Okay, this is the last person who's going to get selected. And it was exciting, and I had everyone calling me saying, oh, we got the message, oh, we saw it on news. I was like, oh, great.
With you, what was the number of people or your squad that was going there? How many people were in that year, in 2012?
I don't remember the amount. So
was it like a massive gang or?
Oh no, very small.
Right.
I think it was one of the smallest. I think.
Less than 10 people?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
This was in the UK.
Yeah, London. Yes. I think with the swimming 2, badminton 2.
Right.
Shooting 1, athletics 2.
Oh, we had a shooting athlete as well?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, shooting.
I apologize for being this ignorant for I'm not a very enthusiastic sportsman, so.
Yeah, then athletics there were 2.
Right.
Yeah, I think altogether 7, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8.
Oh.
I can't remember.
What was it like when you got that message and when you came back, because you had to come back to Sri Lanka, right, and then prepare and fly.
Yep.
When you came back to Sri Lanka, obviously you would have been mobbed at the airport with like.
Not really. I didn't announce that
You were coming back. So, okay. So probably for good reason.
I didn't.
Because I'm pretty sure there would have been like a massive, at least 2 or 3 cameras pointing, waiting for you to come out. And
To be honest, I was planning to come few days before. I was supposed to leave the country.
Oh, okay.
But then my mother insisted that we go a little early.
Right. Yeah.
Because there were certain things that we needed to sort it out before leaving. Yeah. I was actually in tears when I got to know that I got selected because it was so much pressure, mental pressure as well.
Yeah.
And you weren't really sure until you get to know that or if you get to know through the NOC or the National Federation, right?
So you get on the plane, you fully hyped up. So you flew with your mum or
I flew with. You mean to London?
To London.
I went with the crew. I went with the squad.
Okay, so
my parents came a little late.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't fly with me.
Right. So what's it like being an Olympic athlete at the Olympics? Like, is it breathtaking or what's it like as soon as you land?
I still couldn't digest it
until
I went to the opening ceremony.
Okay.
Yeah, in opening ceremony.
I'm getting goosebumps just.
Yes, opening ceremony is something you can never imagine.
Right.
It's so spectacular. It's so big. It's massive, and it's. I don't know. There's no words to explain the feeling you get when you go for the Olympic opening ceremony.
Yeah. Right.
And not everybody get that chance either. You can see if there's a video that I like. I'm like the bubbliest person. Like I'm like saying hi, hello, and all that during the parade was going on. Like, oh my god, I was like freaking out, right? I mean, there's no words to explain.
Was there a rehearsal for that opening ceremony, or people just tell you, okay, stick to this path and just follow whatever?
Yeah, because for everything else, I'm pretty sure London they were practicing and rehearsing for months, right? Right. But for us,
athletes, it was just follow
just put on your outfit, get in the line, and just follow through. Right. Okay. Yeah.
You were staying there. Obviously, it was called the Olympic Village or whatever, right? So, what does the UK do at the how do they set it up? Is it everything is about Olympics, obviously, at that point, right? Like, how was the quarters like? Were you living in what was everything like? That's why I'm really intrigued to find out about, because I've heard these stories you've told me over the past couple years about tiny things.
So what happens in the Olympic Village stays in the Olympic Village.
Right. Okay. Obviously. Yes. Yes. Apart from that drama, what about the infrastructure and how is it the normal city, or do they set things up for the Olympics?
It's massive.
Right.
It's bunch of apartments later being auctioned to the public, right? But before it's been auctioned, we get to have the full experience. It's a village. It's huge. It's multiple apartment complexes together. Right. Oh wow. So, in the building we were staying, I think most of the South Asian countries were there. But the opposite, I remember New Zealand. On the right side, there were Netherlands. Wow. And then US, Australia, they had a different separate, because their squad was huge. Right? Yeah. We are talking about 100 plus athletes alone. So their apartment complex is quite big, and their areas were, it was quite spread out. It's huge, it's massive, and lots of fun. And imagine having the most energetic people on earth coming to one place. Exactly. Right. Who
were you most excited to meet? Because normally these are the Olympics. We people see these athletes through the television screen, right? And then you go there, who was the one athlete that either starstruck you or
Michael Phelps. I met him and I got to take a photograph with him.
Okay, I've seen that picture. This was guys sitting at a bench or something?
Yes,
Right,
at the
okay.
village.
Right.
Yeah. I could believe my eyes when I was like, yeah.
How was he like?
He was actually chilling
Right,
outside. He was
okay.
having a conversation with one of his other friends,
Okay.
I think.
Right.
And I suddenly, you know what? I'm just gonna take the chance and
Right.
go up to him and ask for a picture.
Right.
And I did.
Okay. Were there a lot of people? I'm sure
There were not a lot of people around,
Right.
because obviously it's the athletes' village and everyone was competing at that
Right,
point, right?
yeah.
Even though I was done with my event, most of the other athletes were competing at that point, including him, right?
Okay, so they were all like locked in. And...
Yeah. Plus, I think he was just having a conversation outside. He just wanted, I don't know,
Right.
right? So I
You
took.
just saw it and took the moment.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna get this chance.
Yeah.
So I'll just walk up to him and ask for a picture,
Right.
and I did.
Nice, interesting. Who were the other athletes there?
Usain Bolt was
Yeah.
there.
Well, did you?
Yeah.
did
No,
you
I didn't have the chance to take a picture with him, but I managed to take a picture with Blake.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
USA, right?
But he's also from the Usain's squad,
Oh, okay,
right?
okay, right. Okay, yeah.
I don't know whether you remember the relay, so he was part of the relay as well. So I took a picture with him. We were in the dining hall. We
Right.
were gonna have, I don't know whether it was dinner or what. He was there, and then I was like, you know what? I'll just take a picture.
Yeah.
And even even dressed up, we look horrible. We were in our sweatshirts or something, and then we were just like, no, let's just take a picture.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay, let's talk about the event. You obviously went there for a purpose, and how many days since you landed were there for you to prep for your event? Or how long did it take for you to actually complete it?
So your stay in Olympics is almost a month.
Okay.
I would say 3.5 weeks,
Right.
3.5 weeks. Yeah. That is including opening, closing, everything together. I had my event right after the opening ceremony.
Okay.
So during the first week itself, I had my, because I only had one event. I got
What was
selected
this event, by the way?
for 100 freestyle.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Right.
that was one of the first events. And also Heshan, who
Right.
went for swimming as well. He was the first to actually compete.
Okay.
Then my event was, I think, next day or the day after,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but it was nerve-wracking.
Right.
I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
My heart rate was quite high, I think. I can feel my beats. I was like, whoa.
This is why you're walking up to.
Yeah,
to take-
not even that. You're in like the calling room, right?
Right.
Like they're lining you up. Like, let's just not panic.
Are there cameras all over the place? Like the media?
There is media.
Right.
You don't know whether you're being recorded
Right,
or not,
right,
because
right.
so this is telecasted live as well.
Yeah.
So I was in the fourth heat.
Okay.
Being in the fourth heat is also a good chance
Right,
that
right,
to show that okay, you're good,
Yeah,
right? At
right.
least like better
Okay.
than other people. But being not going in the first heat was one of the accomplishments I had. I think.
Yeah.
I didn't want to race first,
Mhm.
so I was in the fourth heat and I went up. So you've been recorded when you're sitting in the
Right.
calling room. There are cameras. You don't know where they are. I obviously didn't notice because I was just too nervous.
Right.
But you've been recorded, and I went up to the block. Apparently, my mom was there. Obviously, I won't see.
Yeah. They were in the
Right.
stands.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I came in 6th, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
Right.
I didn't perform that well though.
Right.
I couldn't do the job I wanted to do.
Right. Yeah.
I was quite disappointed.
Okay.
I think, I don't know. Probably I was nervous.
Right.
Right?
I mean,
I overall I did good,
Yeah.
but I wasn't happy with my performance.
I mean, yeah, because obviously all these things have to line up, and
Yeah.
I guess there are.
It just it's a different feeling.
Right.
I wished I had a second chance to do that race all over again.
I mean, that's how
But-
competitive it is, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is like the best of the world is coming to freaking
Yeah.
race against you.
I
right?
regretted that race a lot.
Right.
Like
Okay.
even once I came back,
Right.
I wished I did it in a such way, like better than that. But I tried my best because I think 100 meters My first 50 was so good. I liked the way things were going on.
Yeah.
I took the flip turn and I came back.
Mhm.
75 meters, okay, but I can feel my legs getting locked up, right?
Okay.
It's just, I think the last bit I just closed my eyes and I
Right.
raced. I was like, I just want to be over with it. And
So when you say 400 meters,
100 meters.
sorry, 100 meters, that's just two. One length is 50, right?
Yeah.
Right, okay. I mean, for me, I think, okay, you know, we're getting the Olympics, a win already.
But it was, but you know, Olympics is not about winning medals, right? It's also about being able to take part,
Yeah,
right? And
it's the most competitive.
having
stage.
the privilege to take part in Olympics
Yeah.
is more than enough.
No, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
that's.
I wouldn't say it's enough, but for us, I think for me as a person, it was one of the greatest achievements in my life.
Yeah, because it's not one day, right? Like how you've been prepping for that moment for what?
Yeah.
Since you were like 12, 13, right? Maybe even before that.
Yeah.
We
just didn't know.
Yeah, and then it was taking so much out of your life. You had to
Yeah.
sacrifice your studies, you had to sacrifice your social life. You don't be like, okay, for an entire you were not talking to anybody, you didn't have any friends, just getting up, doing one thing. Because not like it's not none of us, because right now we are in a bubble where everybody's talking about positivity and, you know, saying like, well, let's work hard. But none of us have actually worked that long, that consistently at anything. And I'm like, that's what amazed me when I was hearing your story for the first time. Because I'm...
To be honest, I wish I had this support what I have now back then.
Yeah.
Because right now, there are a lot of people in my life who's there to give me that positiveness. But back then, the fact that I was alone most of the time, I just didn't have that. Right?
It's a lonely sport on top of that, right? It's not a team sport where, you know, you have 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah, and you're competing against your own friends sometimes.
Right. Yeah. That must have been really difficult as well.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get on that race block, you just forget who's next to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing it for the country and for yourself.
Exactly. Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, so you finished the Olympics, you know, had a once in a lifetime opportunity for pretty much 90% of the world. And then you come back. What was your decision when you came back? Like, because you've been doing it for such a long time. Right?
Yeah.
Like, since you're 13, 14, you sacrificed your entire life. You probably didn't have a childhood because of, you know, like training.
Yeah.
What was your decision when you came back? Because
I still wanted to swim, but I wanted to break.
Right.
Like, not because that I'm tired from training, but I'm tired from all the drama which happened.
Oh, okay.
Right? I had trust issues.
Right.
Trust issues with my coach. Like, I know if he's watching this, he'll probably know.
Yeah.
I even had like I've been having conversations with him at that point, you know. I couldn't trust him. I think I did say to him that I couldn't trust him at that point.
I remember you telling me your mom would always, you know, keep your food and your bottles all to yourself, right?
Yeah, because we couldn't trust who's around you.
Right.
Because there's a history that there were things has happened where, you know, people can put things into your meals, your drink, your sports drink, or even your water.
That could disqualify you from the selection process, right? Because were these things out and about at that time, or was it only known by the people who are in the committee or competing?
I think it was only known among the community, the competing level of the community.
Right. Yeah.
It was tough, right? There are a lot of people ganging up against you as well, because not everybody will like you.
Right. Yeah.
You are literally alone. Right. So it was difficult, and I wanted to break from it.
Okay.
Obviously, I trusted my coach to be my second father, but because of the things which happened while I was trying to get qualified, or while I was trying to get to Olympics, I doubted people a lot after I came back. I couldn't trust anyone.
Okay.
It's just, I just couldn't.
Right.
And I needed a break.
Okay.
And probably after my event, I didn't go to the pool at all.
Right.
Like while I was in London, after my race, I did trained a couple of times, but then the rest of the 2 weeks I just took a break and I just hung out with my friends.
Okay.
Within the village, and I had a good team with me because I was the youngest.
Right.
So everybody took care of me.
Okay.
Like the entire team who went with me was really good to me.
Right.
And obviously I can't do what all the adults are doing, right?
Yeah.
So I just watch and it was fun.
Right.
It was not fun to watch.
Yeah. You said you want to take a break, so there might have been at some point where you said, okay, you know what, enough is enough. I'm just gonna either not compete anymore. Well, like how many months after you coming back did that come to your mind?
So the moment I came back, I had the nationals in Sri Lanka. I weren't in good shape in the first because I haven't been in the water, so I wasn't really feeling the water when I was swimming. I didn't feel that I was in good shape, but I thought, why not just do one event and see. I did my heats for my favorite 50 fly, butterfly in the morning, but I didn't feel good at all. Right. Yeah. I was standing second going into finals, and I knew there's no way I'm gonna win this race.
Right.
And you have a little bit of pride, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna race.
Right.
I'm not gonna race today.
Right. Okay.
I'm gonna sit this off.
Right. Interesting.
And I just didn't want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and then that's when you hung up your suit or whatever, and then what was that? Is that when you came back to ANC or?
And then I started ANC after.
Okay. And then you decided to obviously get qualified and follow like a deep this, right? But right now, okay, I see you because recently you've gone back into the whole scene and your
I was still swimming up until 2013.
Right.
That's 1 year after
Olympics.
I was still swimming, but it came to a point I just didn't want to race.
Right.
Because there were some things which happened within the squad, which I will not talk about. That made me doubt, should I be swimming with people like this, right? Because they doubted me.
Because it becomes a toxic environment.
A lot of people making a fuss that I was there.
Right.
I was there. I was training.
Yeah.
It was.
And I'm pretty sure that all the people who wanted to get your spot in 2012, they were waiting.
They didn't want me back in the squad.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They were making a fuss. While I was training in the pool, I can hear there's a conversation going on about me. I was like, why should I do this anymore? Right? I never, by the way, I never spoke about this to anyone.
Right.
Not even my coach. I never had this conversation. I think I never said goodbye. When I left swimming for good, when I said enough is enough, I didn't even speak to my coach. I didn't tell him that I wanted to stop. I never spoke to the officials. I didn't say anything. I just stopped.
Yeah.
One day I just woke up. I thought, I'm not going. I can't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just before I move on, what was the finances like with the training and getting selected and you guys going? How much of it was your own money?
So government didn't pay me. One thing, they did not recognize me.
Right.
Or I wasn't known.
Okay.
My parents were never the kind of people who'd call the newspapers to come and interview me and do an article. If I'm lucky enough, I'll get featured in a newspaper article because someone else was doing an article on nationals or junior whatever, right? But no newspaper did an article for me saying, oh, she's good, she's one of the A grade swimmers in Sri Lanka. I didn't get that exclusivity. I got that exclusivity once I got selected to Olympics, right? So I think that's one of my qualities. And my parents, we didn't want to go behind all this media.
Exactly. I mean, even that's why I said in the beginning as well, I had no idea that you were
nobody had any idea.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was a pretty, because I was meeting you almost on a daily basis and you're going to classes and we were hanging out. The fact that you swam at that kind of level, came out because I'm an ignorant idiot as well, so I don't know what the hell is going on. The fact that you were you went for the Olympics and you competed, you came and told me this like maybe like after about 6 months of us meeting each
Hanging
other.
out, yeah.
Hanging out, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like I can totally believe it when you say that you guys don't want to talk about or parade it around. So your mom funded, your parents funded everything. Even what about when you're flying to the like, because you had to fly and
tours. Some of the tours were sponsored by I think it's the ministry or the federation, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. I think the NOC also have a bit of a major role playing in that as when it comes to funding as well. But I never got a fund from the government or any organization saying, here, this is to help you to build your career.
Because obviously we know Shehan Ambedkar, who is also he's also coming. He's constantly, while he's trying to train, he's trying to go and look for sponsors and companies and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's why I said I think for some certain level I was privileged as well, because I had my parents behind me
to spend on it. Exactly, because it is an expensive sport.
Yeah.
It is
and I'm not saying my parents have lots of money as well, but I'm saying is that for some reason they were able to support me. It wasn't easy, and that's why my dad wasn't always around. Sometimes he missed my race because he has to get his work done, He couldn't always or constantly be there when I'm racing. And he's a guy who always couldn't watch me race. He get this feeling he can't watch.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So now you're involved. I see you, you're going out with the squad and how are times different now compared to back then, like when you in 2012 when you're competing? It's been like 8 years now. Do you see more support towards sportsmen or athletes in this country? Is the situation getting better? What are your opinions, especially because we are going through like economic crisis right now with COVID and all that jazz?
How do I put this? Obviously, back then, not all the athletes were highlighted. One thing, because the social media was not so strong back then. And media was not so strong back then. And they always try to highlight only this one particular athlete who's been either favored or they've been known or whatever, But now there's a lot of social media platforms to highlight these athletes, not just the good ones, even the up and coming athletes, who are trying to get to that level. So I appreciate that media is playing a good role. But again, media also is there, can play a bad role in it as well. They also twist the story around. So it's just the athletes should know how to.
Yeah, I'm very surprised when I hear stories, because it's such a massive psychological pressure, It's not just getting up and just practicing and getting your body fit. It's about also zoning out all these other conspiracies. You need to know what to put out there and what not to put out there. And if you're very young, obviously you would know, So I was lucky I weren't exposed to media back then. Otherwise I wouldn't have not known what been able to
say. So I think that way I was lucky. But I wasn't known, so it's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal for me.
I mean, you did your ultimate.
I achieved what I had to achieve, and whether I was known or not, that's okay. So
the kids that because I see you, I don't know if you're like, because when I look at your Instagram story, I see you babysitting a lot of kids, and you're like, you're keeping an eye on them. That's what I saw because you went a couple of times overseas as well with the team, right? How are you helping? Like, you're still helping the country with all of these.
So when I retired, one thing I know most of the people will not believe this, but I think the people that I work with believe in me, because that's what I'm working towards. So I have this motive to give back to the country and give back to the athletes. And if I have to take a side, I will always take athletes' side, because I know what they're going through. I know the suffocation and the mental health of these athletes, right? It's never easy in this country,
Okay.
right? Especially you're not being paid or you're not funded enough to get to that point.
Is it different? Like, okay, obviously we can't compare Sri Lanka
Yeah.
to the US, the UK, or like developed countries.
Yeah.
Like, what about like countries like India? And is it almost the same, or are there differences there? Or
I wouldn't say it's almost the same. Obviously it is, but they have established themselves, right?
Okay.
More than Sri Lanka, India is also, they have established themselves in certain other sports. They are known for a certain sport, right? So in India, I'm pretty sure there are athletes who get paid by the government as well. I'm not saying there are athletes who won't get paid here. There are athletes who get paid.
We can do better.
At least a little.
Right.
To cover something, but I think we can do better. But obviously, right now, we need to go into planning. We need to do more planning how we can bring medals. Right? There are a lot of athletes, experienced athletes who are out there who can consult into these things and who can give their knowledge how we can develop our sport in the country. I think athletes should be the ambassadors for our country. Right? I am actually with the National Olympic Committee right now. I work with the Athletes Commission, Sri Lanka National Olympic Athletes Commission. I'm the secretary there right now. So my role as a secretary is to make sure that the athlete's voice is heard. Right? So we were appointed some time ago and little while ago, and we are trying to work things out now. Get through to these athletes. Obviously, I am not in the field, and it's not easy for me to get in touch with these athletes. But I would also like them to know that I am there if they want something. Right? They can always approach me, because I'm not the person who's like, oh, you have to call me at this time. There's nothing like that. So I'm always there for them to help, however the way I can. Right? But my role as a Athletes Commission is to make sure their voice is heard, and then we do the justice for our athletes.
What was the age demographic back then, like 2012? Was it all like people, or did you have any athletes to look up to back then who had retired and were coming and supporting?
No.
It was
because I think in our country, most of the athletes, when they retire, that's it, right? They don't look out. I'm not saying everyone's like that, but according to my experience, I never had my senior swimmers approaching me to help me. Right? There would have been coaches, there would have been officials who tried to help me, but other than that, even when it comes to officials, I don't think there was anyone to help, to be honest. But there were more people to pull you back. I would say,
So okay, you know what? It's been 8 years since you done your Olympics, and now obviously you graduated, and you graduated with a BBA. You just told me that there's a pretty big thing that happened. Okay, talk to me about that. What was that about? First of all, obviously tell us what it is, and then how did that come to fruition?
So I was able to land a spot on International Olympic Committee this year as in one of the subcommittees. So, and I happen to be the first woman in Sri Lanka to be a part of the IOC or International Olympic Committee.
Freaking amazing! Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
So, what does that role entail, or like what responsibilities or something like that?
So I think the criteria is yet to get there, because I happen to miss the announcement, right? Because I told you earlier.
Being on these things doesn't get Reshika excited. I mean, being on the Olympics, she doesn't tell anybody that she's an Olympian. So it doesn't get her excited.
No, it's not that I don't get. I am excited, right? But it's just, I don't have fun telling everybody.
You don't want to blow your trumpet.
It's just I like to keep things to myself. I'll just do my work other than talking, right? That's my way of
Yes,
doing
yeah.
things. I talk less and do more.
Right.
And so I wanted to keep this. I
Right.
didn't want to tell, but yeah, there.
And it's going on my podcast first.
Oh yes, yep.
This is
It wasn't announced.
It's an exclusive.
Yes,
I mean,
exclusive.
apart from the official announcement,
Yep.
because it was announced. How were you told about this?
So, National Olympic Committee
And
got
they
through
emailed
to
you,
me,
right?
and yeah, they emailed me about
Okay.
this. I think within Sri Lanka, it was announced to the committee. I think about last week or 2 weeks back.
Right.
But in IOC, it was announced somewhere in May 2020
Right,
this
okay.
year. Yeah, which is I happen to miss about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have no idea how to take this conversation to anything else because like how can you segue into anything else after talking about the Olympics?
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
this
it came as a surprise to me as because I was the last person
exactly.
to know.
So yeah, and you're
Right?
still involved with it. You're
Yeah.
going back to the whole
Yeah.
the process, and I hope that since people even I believe things in Sri Lanka are picking up, right?
Yeah.
Like we have more technology, social media. So I wish you all the best with
Yeah,
this
thank
role
you.
because it is a pretty important role, and I'm proud
Yeah.
to be a friend and you don't know because I keep forgetting, like even the beginning, like even when I started this podcast, right? Like how better to start a podcast by having an Olympian on my damn podcast, but
Yeah.
she doesn't like blow a trumpet, so I completely forgot that I have a friend who's an Olympian. Because she hardly talks about it. Thanks a lot for dropping on this. I know it's not easy coming and telling these stories, especially in a country like ours.
Wow.
So I appreciate you coming and speaking about this, and hopefully we definitely have a part 2 and a part 3 in the future, because there's a lot more that's going to happen with you and the whole sport, and I'm intrigued to find out where this is going to go, but definitely for another day. And thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for hopping by.
No worries.
And I don't know, that's how I end it. Cool.